Everybody, this is Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, coming to you again with another one of our member Zoom chats. We love doing these. Today, I have with me Joy Hernandez, who is the Conservation Corps New Mexico Individual Placement Program Director. That is a mouthful of a title. My goodness, Joy, it's good to see you. Tell me what you've got a mouthful of a title. So what does that mean? What is it that you do?
Yeah, so I am the Individual Placements Program Director for Conservation Corps New Mexico. It's basically the intern program director. So yeah, that makes it a lot easier for people to understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I place interns with local site supervisors. Our partners are with federal agencies such as the Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service, Park Service, and these interns get to get on the job training with these site supervisors, and yeah, and get to do really cool conservation projects.
Well, you've got a lot of interns though, right?
Yeah, we usually have about 50 to 60 interns in a year, and that's throughout New Mexico. So we have some in southern New Mexico, but also in northern New Mexico and Albuquerque, Taos, all over.
So I
Some in
kind of
West Texas too.
I know that, like in El Paso, right?
Yeah, El Paso, and then the BLM manages West Texas land.
Yeah.
So we do have some in Texas.
So I kind of jumped the gun because I got really excited about your title, but you're with Conservation Corps New Mexico. The Corps director for the state of New Mexico is Anthony Thomas, and just for full transparency, he is also the chair of the Green Chamber Board of Directors. And tell us what Conservation Corps does, because you're all throughout the West. In this case, you all do work in Arizona. We had a lovely talk about tortoises before we started recording. And so tell us, what does Conservation Corps New Mexico do?
Yeah, so like you said, Conservation Corps New Mexico is one of many corps across the country. And so we're continuing the spirit and legacy of the Civilian Conservation Corps of the 1930s. So that was an effort, after the Great Depression, and it was part of the New Deal to get people back to work and also improve the country's infrastructure. And so we actually partner with AmeriCorps, which is the federal agency for national service and volunteerism. And so with this partnership, we engage young adults in meaningful conservation projects.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really, because the CCC one, in the early 1900s, that was so important for bringing the country back up from the Depression. And it's not that we're in necessarily a depression, but there's more of a focus now on improving those outdoor spaces.
Yeah, and especially with climate change, there's a lot of talk about how we can incorporate cores as part of that movement.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. And so with that, I mean, I kind of know about some of the programs, but I'd love for you, because you talked about with like the over 50 plus interns that you have, and especially working with adults, but you also do a lot of engaging youth and young adults and also veterans in conservation and service programs. And so what are those programs that folks get to do in New Mexico and in the West, the areas that you serve?
Yeah, so CCNM runs two program models. And so we have the crew program, which is where teams work together and often camp at project sites. And so they get to do anything from habitat restoration, trail maintenance, invasive species management. And then we have the individual placements program, where interns are placed with a local site supervisor to focus on a specific field. And so right now, we currently have interns that are doing botany work, natural resources, interpretation at parks, national parks. Yeah, and those are just to name a few of the internships that are currently running.
And I think disclosing that I have a TikTok habit. You've got somebody on TikTok, am I right? Because I saw her.
I believe so. I'm not on TikTok, but
No,
our
you're not on TikTok.
communications.
She's a young
Yeah.
woman who I think was in OMDP, or she was doing something. She was camping, and
Okay.
she's doing it on behalf of Conservation Corps. She's like showing,
Yeah.
and it's really, and the thing that I love about this is that it's really showing the outdoors impacts every person. You don't have to be a certain age
Right.
to enjoy that, or to have experienced that, or to be affected by it. And so I love that you've got this expansive service value in terms of like who comes in and helps do that work. And especially with the veterans, can you tell me a little bit more about the veterans programs? I mean, you really work hard to recruit veterans into this.
Well, that's more on the crew side since I'm
Hmm.
on the individual
Hmm.
placement side, but but I know we do run veterans fire crews each year. And so yeah, just getting them out there. And so they're getting like the basic level of skills that they can take and into the actual fire corps. And so yeah, it's just a really good setup for them to take that transition. And the Forest Service, they really want to recruit these individuals. And so it's a really good transition step to those positions.
Yeah. So what is it that's I mean, and that's amazing because there definitely needs to be opportunities for them after the sacrifices that they've made. With the intern programs, like, do you have like one that you're super stoked about? And I'm leaning forward, like you're telling
I
me,
know, right?
right?
Well, I
But
did tell you about the Bolson tortoise one.
well,
I can
so
talk,
you told me before
yeah,
we started recording, so
yeah.
I'll hear it again. Tell me more about the
Yeah.
tortoise.
So we just had an intern who started at Sevieta National Wildlife Refuge, and they are going to be helping them with introducing the Bolson tortoise, which has not been able has is a threatened species and has been able to be reintroduced in Mexico, but for some reason hasn't been successful in the States. And
Hmm.
so they're trying to figure out why. And so this is part of that process of um, they're being raised on a ranch nearby, and then Sevieta does the kind of releasing and monitoring them in the wild and seeing like how they're surviving and seeing,
Right.
and they monitor their health, they monitor their movements. And so it's just really kind of in those beginning phases of understanding why this species is not thriving.
Well, and the Seviette Wildlife Refuge is kind of north of where we are in
Yeah.
Las Cruces.
Hmm.
It's kind of in between
But
Albuquerque and Las Cruces, right?
But yeah, closer to home, we have
Yeah.
a cohort of interns that are working out of the BLM office in Las Cruces. And, the BLM, manages public lands for lots of uses. So like, not just recreation, but also livestock grazing. It's a watershed and also wildlife habitat. And so
Yeah.
these interns are helping BLM staff with analyzing vegetation, watershed, land health. And that
Yeah.
helps the BLM staff to make sure that they're balancing land use with the health of the land.
Well, and I just looked up and I'll share the screen because the Bolson tortoise is a gorgeous little tort. Actually, I'm not going to be able to share the screen, but if you look up Bolson tortoise, it's a gorgeous tort and kind of looks similar to the African sulcata tortoise, which is what I have. Um,
Okay.
how exciting though. I mean, what are the interns, once they finish their internship, where do they go from there?
That's a good question. That's part of what we do in the individual placement program. So while they're doing their term, we're working on updating their resumes, doing mock interviews.
Uh,
There's, for interns with federal agencies, they get access to what's called the Public Lands Corps Hiring Authority. And so this is basically competitive hiring for federal jobs, similar to like what a veterans hiring authority would be.
mhm.
And so, yeah, they get a leg up in finding positions after their term. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and they also
priceless.
yeah,
That's
they also
priceless.
get
Yeah.
education award. So that education award through AmeriCorps allows them to pay back student loans or do future education. So if they want to go to grad school or even go to undergrad, they have some money to help them through that.
That's amazing. That's like you can't lose with that program.
I wish I had it. I did an internship when I was younger, uh, you know, and
We all say
yeah,
that, right?
we
Yeah.
all say that. But yeah, I didn't have nearly as many benefits as these positions have. I wish I did have that.
Hmm. So we're coming up on Giving Day, which
Yeah.
is very popular for nonprofits to kind of do collective fundraising efforts to help show what financial support does for nonprofits. And so you all are part of that. And so what happens when somebody gives to the Conservation Corps? How does that money get used for those programs?
Yeah, so most of our crew positions and some of our intern positions require camping gear. And so a lot of, our crew members have never camped before. And so if you're trying to gather all that equipment, it's really expensive and could be a barrier to participation, right? And so we do have a gear library at CCNM. So we loan out gear for members to use. It does get used. And so there's wear and tear, of course. So we're hoping for this Southern New Mexico Giving Day that we can replenish some of our loaner equipment for future participation.
That's fantastic. And, we've got so many groups who are really, you and I can talk about outdoor recreation and how important that is and how that increases economic development in communities. And so there are more and more agencies and organizations like Conservation Corps that are doing something similar, but also something different. We've got a number of groups that are members of the chamber. But I think it's so important because we've got these outdoor spaces. And, we saw this during the pandemic, how people were really getting outside and how there's like an increased value and appreciation of that. So I'm so glad that Conservation Corps New Mexico is doing all of that. And it's been really lovely. I know you and I are going to get to talk more. I do hope that your intern that is at the Sevietta Wildlife Refuge is able to get some pictures. Can you make that a requirement that they take pictures of the torts?
Oh, we've already told them, and they are going to do an end of term presentation. So we'll definitely be sharing photos and video. Oh yeah, it's a must.
Okay, yeah, you and I will need to do that. Yes, absolutely. Well, Joy Hernandez, it's been such a pleasure talking with you about Conservation Corps New Mexico. Of course, Southern New Mexico Giving Day. If you are interested in supporting the Conservation Corps New Mexico for their outreach efforts of helping not only young folks and veterans and folks get out into the outdoors and get skills that will continue to help them for years to come, you are more than welcome to support them on Southern New Mexico Giving Day, which is April 26th. The link is either above or below, all depending on what platform you're looking at. Also, you can find a link to the Conservation Corps New Mexico website if you'd like to learn more information about them. And if you're a member of the Green Chamber and would like to have a Zoom chat done, which helps uplift your business or organization, contact me here in the private message and we'll set that up. Joy, it's been lovely. I know we're going to talk some more. So until then,
thank you, Carrie.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.